Whoops, I just got distracted. Today on First Cup, I'm gonna figure out what we're doing. I promise I didn't just take an actual sip of coffee. Stick around, it gets better. Thanks. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Monday. It is October 4th, 2021. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Came out pretty good. Pretty good. Good morning, Francis. Good morning, Jenny. Well, I hope everyone had a great weekend. I had a challenging weekend. For those of you who do not know, I began the inventory and clean out of my father's home in Maine this weekend. I brought back an entire carload. I need to figure out what to do with all of this stuff. See, what makes this really fun is my father was the second to last person on that side of the family left in the U.S. alive. So there are a lot of heirlooms, a lot of things, a lot of that. And when I say heirlooms, a lot of people, they assume it's expensive, it's valuable antiques. No, not necessarily. Sometimes it's just old family stuff. And that's a lot of what I'm finding. So, but we'll figure this stuff out. Some of it's going to get donated. Actually, a buddy of mine came and we loaded up his pickup and we donated mostly clothes and old blankets to Goodwill. It was a lot. It was a lot of stuff, and we barely made a dent. There's so much stuff. Good morning, Mel. Good morning, Stacy. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed the weather was decent. You know, it was a little rainy, at least up our way. Didn't even get below 50 last night here. So we've got this really weird, I don't know, continuation of not quite fall, summer. I don't know what it is. But things are still growing, so I'll take it. Still waiting on my tomatillos. Silly tomatillos. What else happened? I drove and I drank coffee. That was about it. In more or less, we can call it work. It wasn't work, but family work. Those kind of things. I ate. I slept. Pet some cats. That was about it. Met a dog who didn't like people. That was sad. It was an old dog. And granted, I was in the dog's house. The dog was like, "Who are you and why are you in my house?" And it was kind of grumpy. That was a bummer. I really wanted to pet the dog. I did initially. And the more I was there, the more the dog was like, "No, I don't think I like this." Mel says, "Did you remember your keys?" I did. I did. In fact, I put my keys in the car like Wednesday. And so that worked out well. And Stacy says, hugs. Totally get that. Cleaning out estates leads to all sorts of treasures. At one point, I had 4 chamber pots, jars of Victorian calling cards, and several gallons of bullets. Well, there you go. There's just stuff all over the place. And you know what was happening in between all this? People were buying stuff left and right from whistlekick. I have like several orders I gotta pack up and ship out today, not to mention all the stuff stacked up for the apparel, you know, between sweatpants, which by the way, if you want sweatpants, you gotta get in on this sweatpants thing. I'm wearing a pair right now. They're super comfy. They're the best sweatpants. We make the best sweatpants. What am I doing today? Client stuff. And I've decided I have to chip away at all this stuff. So the boxes that everything was packed in were like the perfect size to put in the back of my car. I must have had 4, 8, 12, 20. I must have had 20 of these boxes that were like this by this by this. And they fit beautifully. And every one of them has a mixture of stuff. And if I figure I got to deal with it so I can go back and get more. Because there's more. There's so much more. So much more. Good morning, Andrew. Hopefully a lot of laughter was happening on your part in amongst the hard parts. Yeah, I was pretty thankful between the friend that showed up and the tenant who we both went to school with. It was a lot easier than it could have been. So, yeah, at this point, it's just, let's get through this stuff and, find ways to honor my father through it all. So, all right, today's Monday, which means martial arts radio, which means there's another episode. Let's see if it's up yet. Nope, it's not up yet. It's coming. It'll be there soon. What else am I doing today? Standard Monday stuff. Maybe take a nap? I say that, but I won't. We'll go to the gym later. I'm gonna work out. I feel off. If you can't tell, I feel off. It was, as well as it went, it was still a weird weekend, and I still, you're confronted with the entirety of someone's life. Without going into detail, this wasn't the plan. So I'm looking at stuff. I'm facing stuff, physical objects that I wouldn't have expected to. That's okay. It is what it is, and you work with what you got. Do what you can with what you have, where you are at. Now, I know a number of you left some stuff on the Facebook page, and let me copy and paste the link to the Facebook group. If you're not part of this group, please become part of this group. This is where I ask you all to leave your questions and comments because it goes much easier for me to have a central place. So here we go. We've got something from Gabe and Jenny. Looks like Gabe, based on context, from Matt. From Stacy. Let's start with Stacy since she's right here. What do you think the difference is between being a mentor and a coach? In my mind, it's how active the process is. A coach is right there, engaged, cheering you on, pushing you. I think they're more likely to be there in person. Versus a mentor, which is most of the time I see it as more of a casual relationship. Like if I think of a martial arts coach, that person is going to be watching me and telling me what to do and correcting me and encouraging me. A mentor may not even know that they're my mentor. I could look at someone like Fumio Demura, who I look up to. I wouldn't call him a coach or an instructor. I would call him a mentor. He's someone who I aspire to embody, at least in part. And for me, that's what a mentor is. A mentor is someone that you look up to in at least one way. It doesn't have to be every way, but I've been told, well, forget that. So, yeah, to me, that's the difference. And Andrew's reminding me we did an awesome instructor on this, the difference between mentor, coach, and instructor. Yeah, Andrew, do you know what episode number that was? And Jared says, you need a weekend to recuperate from this weekend. I do. I've got some fun stuff coming next weekend. I'm not going back to Maine next weekend. I will probably be there. It'll probably be 6 weeks before I get back there. I'd like to do one more trip before that, but I don't know if logistically that will work. We'll see. Jared says a coach gets the best skill out of you. A mentor helps you explore. I can see that. And Stacy's saying, I missed that one. That's okay. That is quite all right. Nothing wrong with that. See, I'm thinking of weekends because November 13th, we've got free training day. And November 6th, we are at Rhode Island Comic Con trying to convince all the actors on Cobra Kai to come on the show. Which we will do. Right, Andrew? We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Yep. There's a lot going on, you guys. Remember last year when nothing was going on? Like nobody had anything going on, and we all just kind of sat there and went. I didn't like that, but there was a part of me that liked that. The quiet introvert side of me liked that. What are we gonna do tonight? The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Stay home. All right, next. What do we got? Okay, here we go. So Jenny posted this from Matt. If I, Jeremy, had to enter Mortal Kombat within the next year and I could choose any 3 martial artists or professional fighters, living only, who would they be? So for those of you who don't quite get the format of the question, Mortal Kombat, as it shows up in the movie and possibly in other versions, Raiden chooses fighters to fight on the side of Mortal Kombat, or the Earth Realm for Mortal Kombat. So I get to pick 3. Andrew says it's episode 573, differences between coaches, instructors, and teachers. So there you go, Stacy. Check that one out. And I'll tell you what, I bet you're going to have some follow-up questions. So you got anything that falls up from that, post it, and we'll go deeper on that specific subject. So if Mortal Kombat became real, and I had to grab some people and go in and take them into Mortal Kombat, I would be looking for the best current diverse fighters. Yeah, this is where a lot of people are going to pick people that are really famous. I'm looking for people who get into a lot of fights and are really tough. Big heavyweights. See, I don't know the current crop of UFC fighters that well. I would pick someone like John Jones, because whether or not he's taking performance-enhancing drugs is irrelevant in Mortal Kombat, I would expect. If you can throw spears and have fire and be undead, I figure some extra testosterone's probably not out of bounds. So him. Who else is big and strong and a really good fighter? I don't know. I'm thinking. Someone like Tyson in his prime. Maybe Tyson Fury. I don't know boxing that well. It would have to be heavyweights. Because any of the smaller guys are just going to get decimated. Jenny says, totally fair and legal. Okay, so we're working within the rules. So there's 2. John Jones, Tyson Fury. I don't know who else. Anybody watching have any ideas for a current dominant heavyweight fighter in some discipline? I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody else. So if somebody else has somebody, let me know. Post in the chat. We'll round that question out. You know, it's such an interesting idea because in the movie, it's like we have a chance. We don't have a chance. We have no chance. Against people that shoot ice and fire, we have no chance. We're just people. But it's fun to pretend. It's fun to play, and I enjoy those hypotheticals. You know, this may not be the best question for me, but I know a number of people who would really nerd out on this question. And they would think they'd have some great feedback, some great ideas. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Yeah, see, I can think of plenty of big people, people that are current or former pro wrestling turned MMA, but those guys are going to get smoked. They're not going to do well. You look at someone like we've had some professional strongmen. They were supposed to be the Thor Bjornsson and the Eddie Hall boxing match, and it didn't happen because what was it? Eddie got hurt. Those guys are big and strong. They're not fighters. I'm not putting them in there because they don't know what they're doing. You need somebody who has experience as a fighter. Okay. It's from these conversations that we did the how to fight stuff and the precursor to how to fight, who'd win, which we only did 2 episodes on. The who'd win gets some attention. Not enough that we would keep doing them, but people receive them well. Jenny says, Matt has to do research to find the gentleman's name, possibly a fighter from the World Combat League. He was dominating knockouts with leg and body kicks. Oh, interesting. See, Frank says Victor Moore, and Victor Moore in his prime would be great. I'm kind of feeling like if the question says they have to be alive now, that it would be restricted to how they are now. Victor Moore's in his early 70s. So probably not someone I'm going to put out to defend the world from collapse. There are a lot of guys from back then. I would, when I think of who I would want to put out there, honestly, it'd be somebody like Joe Louis. Because not only was Joe Louis a great fighter, especially in his prime, he had the right attitude. If you listen to the episodes that we've done with people who have earned rank under Joe Louis, you know that he had a switch. He had a switch he could flip and get a little aggressive if need be. And we would need somebody that could flip that switch. I could see him out there. I could see him doing it. Yeah, see, I don't know current fighters. I know older fighters. Oh, Andrew, killing me. Andrew says Nicolas Cage, he saved the world with the Jiu-Jitsu movie. I still haven't watched that. I don't think I can bring myself to watch that. Everybody says it's so bad. And there are some movies that are fun because they're bad, but this doesn't seem like one of them. Slider says Frank Smith, Joe Louis was afraid of him. Well, if Joe Louis was afraid of him, he was probably older. And thus not. See, this is a different style of question than we usually have when we talk about this. We usually talk about greatest fighters of all time. This question to me is greatest fighters now. And anybody who was great back in the 60s and 70s is not someone that I'm putting out there. I'm not putting them on the team. No geriatrics on my fight team. It's not right. It's disrespectful. Don't make your grandparents fight for the prevention of eternal damnation of Earthrealm. It's not nice to them. Slider says AARP. Yes, exactly. And I'm guessing this is Gabe. To piggyback off Jenny's question, if you were to enter a death match and could only have one weapon, what would it be? It really depends on other specifics. So, for example, are we defining a firearm as a weapon? If so, are we starting far enough away? Do I have ammunition that I can use that? If so, that's an obvious choice. So let's put that aside. Let's say we either start too close, where it's not helpful, or there's no ammunition or no firearm. I think I think I'm picking a spear. A spear because it is sort of the combination of, or the fusion of range and blade. If I knew how to use a sword better, I might pick a sword. But I also don't know what the other person has. I'm assuming if I get to pick a weapon, they get to pick a weapon. If they get to pick a weapon and they pick a sword, I don't. I've done just enough slow boken work with people to know that you know the adage when you train knives, like you're gonna get cut. That's so much. You're gonna get sliced with a sword. Like it's gonna happen. It's so fast. I'm not that good. I'm gonna die. So I'd rather have range. I'm pretty comfortable with a bow. Let's put a pointy thing on the end. Then I've got a little bit more of a chance to do some damage. Because a stick by itself, meh, not great. So a spear. What would you guys pick? Those of you in the chat, there are a number of you in the chat right now. What would you choose? Would you take a spear? Would you take, I don't know, a bow and arrow? Throwing knives? A sword? Tonfa? Hopefully no one's choosing Tonfa. Sai. What else we got? Rope dart. An oar. I'm thinking of all the weapons I know. Butterfly swords. There's so many. Oh, you know what'd be interesting? There's an Okinawan version of, I forget what they're called. Teko? The brass knuckles that are wooden knuckles. That would be an interesting choice. Because if you can get close, they're going to add a little bit to your strikes. But if the other person has a sword, that's probably a bad choice. Oh, yeah. Good morning, Nathan. Chris says nunchucks. Yeah, nunchaku. Nunchaku are a valid option. Not what I'm picking. But they're valid. Especially if you get two. If you get two of them. The idea of a single weapon versus dual weapons is kind of an interesting concept. You know, if you think of something like nunchaku, you know, you can have two, but there's so much less you can do with two. You could always drop one. Stacy's suggesting a cane. Her cane has a quarter metal rod up the center. That would do some damage for sure. And Jenny says her husband, Matt, definitely said he would choose brass knuckles because that's his comfort zone. This is the man I married, folks. But Stacy says she wouldn't choose her cane for a death match. Yeah, see, there's some interesting options here. And Chris picked nunchaku because Michelangelo is his favorite turtle. Chris, I don't know if you were here. What was it last week? Was it Wednesday or Thursday that we talked about what if there was a fifth turtle? That was a fun conversation. You might want to go check that out if you missed it. Yeah, see, I love Raphael, but I don't want to bring Sai into a death match. It just, I feel restricted in using them. I mean, there's some advantage, especially if you're good enough with them that you can use the prongs to catch something. If the person has a single weapon, you know, if they're a sword or a bow and you can catch it and then you can maybe do something. I don't know, but it feels risky. Slider says a hockey stick. Okay. Stacy says Parmigiano, and that was almost the name. We came up with a funny name. There was a fifth female turtle in the next mutation. We don't mention this ever. It was a fun comment. Parmigiano? There was something. Parmigianino? I think it was Parmigianino is what we did. Yeah, hey, we have some fun here on this show. We gotta have fun. If it's not fun, why do it? There's enough stuff that we all do that's not fun. Let's have some fun. That's the end of the fun. We're petering out. So instead of just dragging this thing out, let's bring it to an end. Thanks, everybody. Oh, let's see if the episode's up. Sometimes it starts uploading. Here we go. Okay. So let's talk about this one for a minute. Episode 646 with Mr. Jordan Kahn. Jordan Kahn. I had to remember. This is an interesting episode. We've got a movie guy who has a very unconventional martial arts background, and yet someone who thinks very, very highly of martial arts. Now, one of the things that is not in the intro or outro, but I will mention to you here, is we had some conversation internally about whether or not this person should come on the show. And even during the episode, I had some concerns that we had made the wrong choice. In completing the episode, we did not. I am quite certain of that. Everyone's martial arts background, upbringing, journey is quite different. And this is an example of someone where we get to hear a very different journey. So I want you to check it out, and I want you to enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm sure you'll get something from it. So there it is, 646, Jordan Kahn. Does a pet bear count as a weapon? No. No, it counts as live beings are not weapons. They can be brought to bear, as force multipliers, but they're not weapons because you don't have complete control over them. You do not hold You do not hold a bear. You say, "Hey bear, go do that." Okay. Thank you, Stacy. Apparently, we're making Matt sad. Hey, just because it's meant to be a question that you think about. It's not meant to be, oh, here's a loophole where I just win. It's a hypothetical situation. You don't have to worry about winning. That's what makes it fun. Live beings are not weapons. Can we please get this on a shirt? Jenny, wait, didn't your mom use you as a weapon? Yes, she did. That's a funny story. Andrew says, I would hug a bear. And this is where we've deteriorated, and it's a good thing that the show is coming to an end. I hope you all have a great day. I hope to see you back here tomorrow. We do it every weekday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget, if you want to support us, whistlekick.com, first cup 15, valid on everything but the sweatpants pre-order. If you're coming to free training day, make sure you get your shirt. And yes, that code works on your shirts. Or Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. Lots of stuff going on over there. We've actually been people are getting a little more engaged over there on Patreon, and I appreciate that, helping guide what we post there for exclusive content. If you've got stuff to talk about, leave it on the Facebook page. I posted the link earlier, but there it is again, facebook.com/firstcupwithjeremy. Shout out and thank you to all of you and Frank for all of his work behind the scenes. I appreciate you, my friend. And Jenny's really excited. This is why this show is great. I couldn't agree more. Until tomorrow, have a wonderful day, everyone. I'll see you. Take care. Peace. I just said goodbye in like 6 different ways.